Hey traders, let's look over today's market and get an idea of what to expect on Monday. The first indicator I want to look at is the market cycle tension indicator. This is how I define what trend state we're in to help frame everything else that I do. The first thing I want you to notice is you see this moving down right here and right here. When this is moving up, it's building negative tension, and when it's moving down, it's releasing negative tension. And releasing tension into the market should affect prices. And the way that those prices are affected tells us everything about the trend. So as this released this, you can see prices really responded. But we weren't, look at the tension. It couldn't even get close to being able to move down and build any positive tension in the market. When we're in a bullish state, tension can't push down to build positive tension. So seeing this push down here and build us some positive tension into the market and then release, that was a sort of a weakness sign because we were already in a bullish trend. But as it released, prices were able to respond favorably to it. And then as the negative tension released, respond favorably. But you see, this moved up a lot more aggressively than this moved down. And this right there tells me, and then again, we are in a bull trend, not in a range anymore. We were in a range here. Once we got to here, I started to question it. Once today opened, I knew for sure we were in a bull trend because that was twice it just failed. So this structured the morning. My expectations were a bullish day, or overall the next couple of days, the market's going to be looking at being bullish depending on this. Okay, so the next indicator after I've framed this is going to be, let me delete all these drawings. Sink or swim. I don't want everything synced on everything else. Is the market cycle decay. So if you look if you remember, right through here, we're rising, release, build, release. Okay, so let's look at this next indicator. So as this was releasing positive tension into the market, look at the energy. It couldn't hardly grow until right here in the very end, and that was probably mostly because this day was a FOMC minutes or something coming out crazy. So the energy really wasn't growing. Even though price was responding, you wouldn't be able to tell just looking at regular momentum numbers. There wasn't any real growth. And as this released, look at how the negative, it decayed and then grew negative. And then right here, as this released this time, it just really grew to the downside. So if you think about what's happening, we're seeing a lot of energy moving down in a bull state. And in my head, when I see stuff like that, I assume that that downside energy is being absorbed because these weren't able to move down. Not necessarily absorbed, but the market is dealing with it fine. So this decay tells us that the energy in the market was absolutely active through these areas. And so we should have seen this build positive tension, but we weren't able to see that, even with all this growth to the downside. So after seeing these two big failures, and that's what these are, failures. I mean, look at this move down and this move down is a failure. We opened up here. So this opened up this morning, Friday, at about 20%, which is, I don't know, the McClellan Oscillator is probably like at 40, positive 40 or something. And our breadth number was, well, let me show you. Right here, it opened up 1,700. So what's happening is all the momentum traders are going, oh my gosh, these numbers are huge. The smart momentum traders are saying we're in an uptrend. And I was seeing this happening. We're in an uptrend. We have positive momentum. Basically, this needs to be sliding up just on its way, and it was going sideways. So like this indicator where you need to see the effect match what's going on, it wasn't doing what I thought it should do. And so that told me that this was probably going to break down, and it moved down. And what was really important about this breakdown was this. This is the advanced decline breadth number. It was able to stay up above 1,000. Even with prices declining, the market's breadth number was able to hold strongly positive. Seeing that tells me that what the market was doing was proving itself. And you see this occasionally where the market determines it's in a trend and then it decides to prove itself. You could also think of it as a stress test. But basically, if this had moved down and the breadth number had broke and just started to drop down to 0 or lower, all the trend traders would have covered their positions and been done for the week. But because that momentum number was able to hold out, we got some great entries down here, and our momentum was able to stay positive, not strongly positive, but positive. What ends up happening here is you notice it's below this 10% line. So it was saying weekly positive momentum, which gets 90% of momentum traders to do nothing. In a strong bull trend, Decay sort of moved down and then started to move back up. And you can see this. This is the most important thing you can see for how this market was rising. That is growth. When the decay starts moving in it, when it moves directionally like this over time instead of in a range, this is indicating growth. We're seeing the market grow in a direction. So what happened was that we had a market which convinced a lot of traders to do nothing. It stopped people out first, but it had proven it was strong and it was in a bullish trend. And I think what fueled this whole uptrend was that it was able to pull this off, and then by here, a lot of people realized what was going on, and then they started filling their long orders into the close. And that's really the goal, is to get into a momentum trade before everyone else. And if you can do that down here, then they will push your profits later. So that's what I saw today going through the market. Now, what's going on right now? We have fairly high tension, 50% negative tension. And you can see from past times, this is a lot stronger. You see a lot of times during a trend, it'll sort of pick a level and go to it. And we've pushed out to a new high. And it's 50% is pretty strong. I mean, that's 50% of the possible tension. It can't go past 100. We have on our momentum numbers, the breadth number is at 1800 right now. So for this momentum number to like move up and stay positive, this number is going to have to stay up. So you can watch that on Monday, see what happens with this number, but this is going to have to stay up to keep this momentum positive. If this comes down, momentum's going to go negative. And on the decay front, we saw growth, but not a lot. It didn't get up like really high. You see this drop down to 45%. This grew all day, but it only got to 5% positive. So what I'm seeing here is that we're in a trend state, but this has a little bit of weight it needs to burn off in order for it to continue. The tension is really high. I would love to see this tension cool off a little bit. Something like this would be great. Or even this, where it's able to cool off some of that tension, and then it can continue up a little bit higher. You can see that is a common thing that it does. It cooled off the tension while this went up. So if we see a gap down on Monday, in my head that could be a easily seen as a bearish move or bullish move, sorry, because it's going to burn off some of that tension. I think a gap up is going to be viewed as a little bit bearish because it's not dealing with the tension. And so if it builds too much, it's going to snap again. And that snap, you know, it could push this down and start us into something else, and it's sort of unknown. But if this pushes down, I think it'll be pretty clear that we could have a pretty good chance at a bounce. What we'll be watching with the momentum numbers is I want to see this McClellan breadth number. Sort of Monday would be great to see it, you know, dip down, retest this expansion bar here, and sort of hang out there for a little while. Let us get a little bit of breathing room, and then set up a long entry, jump in and see it push all the way back up to the high, and do it again. That's what I'd love to see. So that's what I think is going on right now. And thanks for showing up. If you have any questions about this, send me an email at bacontrading@gmail.com. You can follow my posts. I'll post about what I'm doing and what I'm thinking on Twitter about this particular market at Pipsinger. You can also come and watch these indicators live during trading hours. I have them up and running at bacontrading.com. It's under the Live Indicators tab. And I hope to hear from you, and happy trading.